so official.
Isn't this official?
We've come so far.
I know. We have come so far. Hang on. I forgot my coffee. Hey, Kev, can you hand me my coffee, dude?
You have to have your coffee.
I have to have my coffee.
We've got to get hype.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming.
Cheers.
I don't even know where to start. It's like you were just saying before the podcast started. It's like we have to do this to have a conversation because we're so busy.
Yeah, I tried to book coffee with Sam Vargas, and he's like, only if it's on my podcast. And I'll give you alcohol. So here we are.
Jesus. Yeah, I know. It's so hard to keep up with you. And it's like when people tell me I'm busy and then I try to get in touch with you, it's like, I'm not busy. Macie is busy. And when you told me, like, the parameters, like, when you told me everything that you have going on, that's exactly why I wanted to have you on here, because you were one of the first boss lady entrepreneur.
Oh, I'm representing the women today.
You are.
I love it.
You were one of the first that I ever met way before I even started this.
Before both of us even
yeah.
started anything, right?
Yeah.
I mean...
But you always had that...
The hustle.
Yes, you always had the hustle way before I did. So that's why I wanted you on here. So I've known Macie for a while, but I'm going to let you introduce yourself and kind of tell people who you are and what you're involved in right now.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Macie Mincy, new last name. So
congratulations.
Thank you. I'm getting used to it. Macie Mincy. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am essentially an investor. I do play an active role in a lot of my projects right now, or at least 50% of them. So I like to call myself an investor entrepreneur. I'm also a stepmom, a wife, all the good things. So it's hard to balance everything. My latest mission in the last 3 years has been investing in people of color and underserviced markets or communities. So my portfolio consists of franchising, workforce housing in the Charlotte market, and a winery that I just started.
Yes.
I also am on the advisory board and an investor for a company called Bonte, who launched the Black Beauty roster, really helping the behind the scenes of beauty in media and the lack of education or stylists there. So I have been expanding my portfolio, and I'm really excited to chat with you guys today.
Very nice, very nice. So before I even get started, I wanted to ask you, what is the number one thing? So for somebody who is working whatever kind of job and they want to go out and do their own thing, they want to finally let go of whatever it is that they're not happy doing, what would be like your one, and I know there's more than one piece of advice, but what would be like your main piece of advice for somebody who wants to go and follow their passion to do what they want to do? Because I feel like you are a very self-motivated person.
Yeah.
And that's very hard to accomplish nowadays. But yeah, what would you say to somebody who wants to follow in your footsteps, so to speak?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to just pick one thing, right? But if we're talking about a first-time entrepreneur, I would say wait until you're obsessed to make the jump, and understand that this isn't something that overnight you decide you're going to do it and you quit your corporate job. Of course, unless your savings account can float you for a little while. I was obsessed, and I did have a full company, and I still quit my corporate job too early. So make sure that you are 100% committed. Make sure that you do all of the steps that you can do while working both, and take everything from your experience, from your work, from your job. Most people are working in companies or establishments that are already established, right? So they typically have at least some of the structure or the bones of what you would need to build your company. And that could be something as simple as a management template, a sales template. What does your manager give you every week when you have a one-on-one, or every month, right? Understanding those strategies and the way they're thinking, the format of the company, and take it with you. Extract everything you can.
Preach. Wow, that was a lot to take in. So let's start with the winery.
Yeah.
Because I know we briefly talked about that, and that was something that you were, when you were talking to me about it, I had never seen you so excited about something. What can you tell us about that?
Oh my gosh, where do I start? So the winery, let me just lay it out for you guys. That is the thing that I am most involved in. I would say the winery I am full-time, everything else I am part-time, right? And we have so many moving parts. It's really exciting. I think the biggest thing about this is that, I started and sold a company, and the exit wasn't what I wished it was. There was an exit, so that was great.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gotten me to this point. But I feel like with my newfound network and my newfound just skill sets and wokeness, right? Like I know so much more now, right? I'm just so much more knowledgeable on what it's going to take to get this company to the finish line. I feel like it's a place where I get to play with my creativity, yet I'm still challenged daily on how are we going to accomplish X, Y, Z. And there are so many hurdles that we've been going through. So it's a really fun space to be in. It's exciting. It's something brand new for me. And if you would ask anyone that knows me, right, and you've known me for a long time, I never was even this wine enthusiast. I never was like, Sam, look at all this wine.
It caught me by surprise when you told me, but I knew when you just were talking about doing this, it was because it was worth something.
Yeah.
And just the type of passion that you were talking about it, you're always passionate about everything that you do, but when we had that conversation, there was something different about it.
I'm very excited. But I say that to say, don't be afraid. I started a tech company without any tech experience, sold it, and here I am in the wine industry. And wine had always been an equalizer for me. I think that I got into banking so early that it was something that made me feel more mature, or it was a conversation starter, understanding what to order at the bar. So it wasn't too top tier, but also not embarrassing, right? There was a discovery phase for me, but never a super educational phase to where I started enjoying and appreciating wine. And that's what's exciting about my relationship with my business partner, because she has that educational, deep appreciation, this super sophisticated palate, and I'm more of what I would say our target market is, exploring new things and learning about your palate and what do I like, what do I not like, does this give me a hangover, does this give me heartburn, is this too sweet, right? We've got so many things, but wrap that up. I say that to say don't be afraid to start. Even if you've never done it before, surround yourself with the right people, the people that know what's going on, and you will do it. You can accomplish it.
I've been doing a little bit of reading, which is something that I never did before. But a lot of what the successors have in common are the people that they have around them and who they choose to keep around them. And something that I noticed these last 4 years, this is my very first business. So the difference between you and me is that I'm solely dedicated to growing this and for like the longer outcome.
As you should be. And
you are just like, banging out other businesses and stuff like that. It's a different structure. But what I've noticed throughout this time is that the people around me have constantly changed. And I'm pretty sure that's happened with you as well.
Yeah.
And it's true what they say, and it's like something that my mother always used to tell me is like, yo, bad association,
yep.
like the whatever. I'm like, okay, Mom, right?
Your mother is wise.
She is, bless her heart, I love her, but it's true. It's absolutely true. What you read, what you watch, what you listen to, who you talk to, especially the people that you talk to on a daily basis, are such a influence.
Absolutely.
But so with that being said, is it safe to say you have like a small circle?
I have a very small core circle. One thing that I am constantly in transition with is expanding my network. So I do feel like I've gone through phases, and there are so many transitions in entrepreneurship that people don't talk about. Absolutely. And I feel like they're not graceful transitions, right? The one that we just talked about was the transition from corporate America into entrepreneurship, which is rough. as
so
hell.
Rough. It's weird.
It's very weird.
So weird.
It takes a second to find your footing. The second thing is definitely outgrowing people and understanding people are for chapters, right? And the core people, I feel like you have to have that loyalty. You have to have people around you that know the good, the bad, the ugly, and they accept you for that. I choose that core circle. That core circle of mine is also still empowering. But even something that I just told my husband 2 weeks ago, we went on a trip, and when we came back, I said, this was great, but I don't want to be the richest one here. I don't want to feel like, and not that our group of friends it's not like that at all. We were in a much larger group that wasn't just my core circle, but I want people flexing on me. I want to feel their pressure. I want to feel their flex. I want to see this next level of life. I feel like I had imagined up until this point, and now I need to see it, and I have the ability to get in the rooms with people that are living 5 steps above me, and I want to be brushing elbows with them. I want them to put the pressure on me.
I never experienced entrepreneurship before, and when you say the word entrepreneur, things that come to mind are either you're somebody who's very successful and you got it going on and you live an easy life, or somebody who is a loser and has nothing going on, so on and so forth. Both of those things are highly incorrect. Somebody who's truly living an entrepreneurial life is the hardest working, sacrifice giving, just individual that you will ever meet. And it's not like it gets easier. It doesn't get easier. It's kind of like in the military, you go to boot camp and they train you for harsh conditions. I feel like the more you get involved in growing a business or businesses, it's the same thing. You're training for harsh conditions, because once you start leveling up and playing with the big dogs, it's every man for themselves,
right,
type of mentality, and a lot of people can't handle that kind of pressure. So with with that being said, how do you deal with the pressures and the stresses that come along with those challenges from being an entrepreneur and owning several different businesses?
Oh, that's such an interesting question, especially because a lot of people get in this debate on, are you born with it or can you be taught it? Can you be taught this scrappiness, this hustle? When I sold Macie, I was in a very interesting place with myself for probably about a year. And my close friends know about this, but I would associate it with depression. I went from corporate America to constantly problem solving to being in purely survival mode, right? Running a beauty company and not having any money to be quote unquote beautiful, like really out here being scrappy, figuring it out. My car almost got repossessed. I stopped dating because I didn't feel like I could show up as the person that I wanted, that I knew I was going to become. I just didn't know how long that phase was going to get, but I was never depressed in that phase. I was excited. I was passionate. I was motivated. I had a team. We were rocking and rolling every day, working overtime for 2.5 years. And when we sold, it was so quiet. And I don't know how to deal with silence. It's almost like I need the chaos. And at first I would say that's another transition of entrepreneurship from survival mode.
I relate to that so
much. Being in survival mode. And, I grew up very poor, so I'd like to say that I grew up in an environment of survival mode. There were times when we didn't have power, so my mom would do candlelight dinner and we thought it was a picnic. I don't know how she wasn't crying her eyes out, but I grew up in a survival mode environment. And it wasn't until I sold my first company that I transitioned out of that as an adult, almost 30 at that point. So that's another transition that's so personal and was dark for me. And I feel like a lot of people glamorize entrepreneurship and they don't talk about these other transitions that are very important, that are very mentally draining and depressing.
So it's funny that you bring the conversation of depression because boy, did I not. I knew what depression was, but I did not know what it really was.
You thought you knew what depression was. And did I answer your original question? I feel like now I'm taking us down
you did. Yes, you did.
A rabbit hole.
Did. No, you did. It's just so interesting that the things that you're saying, I just relate to it. Sometimes I question myself if I'm doing things right, if I'm actually about this life or not.
Yeah.
And I am. I just you sort of hit home when you talked about depression, because me being an artist, this started out as an outlet for me. Mm-hmm. It started out as something that I just wanted to do, to not think about my boring ass cubicle job.
Right.
And that I was depressing myself, that I had to force myself to get out of bed for every single day. Meanwhile, the day I quit, and I was just talking to my last guest about this, the day I quit, the very next morning I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, no alarm, no nothing, because it lit a fire under my ass.
Yeah.
It was the first time that I actually had to go out and make my own money instead of depending on somebody else. But going back to the whole depression thing, the level of anxiety, the level of stress, the level of procrastination that starts with that anxiety, is on a whole another level. And I'm very curious, now that you sort of touched on it, I'm very curious to know, does that still happen every now and then, or have you figured out a way to kind of like, you sense when it's coming and then you kind of like swerve it off or something?
Yeah, so I think it's a little different for me, because when I was, 18, I moved out of my mom's house, and I had to figure it out. I dropped out of college after the first semester. So I created this anxiety. I would say it's almost equal to a sales high, where I would just get excited about the amounts of money I can make, but it was also an anxiety. And so I transitioned anxiety in my body into a positive thing. So when I talked about when I went into depression, when I sold Macie, it was because that anxiety was no longer there. That adrenaline, I don't know if it's anxiety, I don't know if it's adrenaline. I like to call it active anxiety or positive anxiety. Sometimes I make up my own words just
exactly
to make
I
myself
know
feel
exactly
sane.
What you mean.
Yeah, so after I sold Macie, I feel like, as I mentioned, the silence, my active or positive anxiety was no longer there. I could sit there and actually think. I realized I didn't have any hobbies. I was depressed. I would cry to my husband and tell him I was such a loser and I didn't know what to do and what am I going to do with my life. And he's like, this is the strangest thing I've ever experienced. He was just like, you are out of your mind. But it took me a second to readjust and now make business decisions and go into partnerships with people that I either really enjoy so much that I want to work with them, or a project that I'm so incredibly passionate about that I stay up.
You're like attacking this anxiety with adding on more tasks to keep you busy, keep your juices flowing, and not staying still.
Yeah, I can't sit still, because that's when my depression sinks in. So I actually thrive in an entrepreneurial environment where I am problem solving constantly. I think that we're a bit different because you are at heart and soul a creative. I'm in my heart and soul a hustler. And what I'm really great at is strategic business moves on all the time, right? Let's get strategic. Let's solve a problem. I'm a really great backup creative, So I feel like creatives really need partners that are great at organization or business operations, finance, things like that, where a lot of times I have people on my team that are the creatives, and I can come in and I can say, no, move it here, or change it this color, or let's try this, or no, that looks great. It's exactly what I was envisioning. And I'm really have no shame in saying I like it or don't like it, or it fits the brand, right? So I think that that's where I thrive in this constantly moving environment and constantly problem solving.
It's very interesting that you say that, because I was just telling somebody recently that I would have never found what my purpose unless I would have kept going. So during my 20s, my mid-20s is when I finally started like to hustle, but hustle the wrong way. I was working 2 or 3 jobs that were paying minimum wage or a little bit over, just to pay bills, just to get by. But I never really gave up. I knew there was something better for me. I just didn't know what. And not staying still, kind of, you just keep moving and kind of see what works and what doesn't, is what got me to where I am now. And I feel like I'm just kind of like scratching the surface. I know nothing about business. I'm not a very educated person. I have no high school education, no college education. I just started freaking reading books, for Christ's sake. But
that's incredible.
But I know I say I'm illiterate, but
please no.
But what I've always had was a work ethic and passionate about working, especially work that I enjoyed. And when I finally found what I was meant to do.
Oh, I remember when you found what you were meant to do, Sam.
Yeah, you were one of the first people I confided in. You were one of the first people that I was like, I don't remember the exact conversations, but I do remember like asking you like, hey, do you think I could do this? Do you think I can make it happen with this? And you straight up would tell me, abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
It's like you have raw talent that I still think I still look at that I could improve on, but you were really one of the first people that I shot with, that I made like banger photos with. Like we literally just went uptown and just had fun. And
I was like, I have 30 minutes, Sam. Let's see if this is really in you.
Yeah. And you changed in your car and all that stuff.
I did.
But it's moments like that that have gotten me to where I am. And people like you that I constantly keep around and talk to, even though it's not on a regular basis. But that keep moving factor is so important. I can't remember the exact saying, but do you know who Casey Neistat is? Big YouTuber?
No.
Really famous YouTuber, filmmaker. One of the biggest YouTubers in the world. He said something like, if you're caught in a storm, you're on a sailboat, you're caught in a storm. If you stay put, you're going to get overtaken by the storm, by the chaotic waves, by the weather itself. You're going to get destroyed. But if you fight through that storm, you're eventually going to get out of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I firmly believe in that, and it's something that I've always been very proud of, is carrying myself, keep moving, keep trying new things. Like now I really don't believe that this is all I'm meant to do. This is kind of like the opening up of something bigger, and the partnerships that I'm making and the people that I'm meeting and the networking and all that stuff. But yeah, so another thing I wanted to ask you, so we talked about the winery. You said you were dabbing into real estate?
Yeah, I've been in real estate for about 2 years now. I am the sole investor alongside my husband, of course, with our company. We're the only investors in a 14-unit workforce housing project that's being built here in Charlotte.
In Charlotte?
Yes,
nice.
Yes. We actually, this year, in the first month of the year, we sold 10 of the units. So we have 4 that are not yet on the market. It's all new development. Workforce housing is interesting because it's not affordable housing, which I would love to get passionate about. It's just I'm not in a stage yet where I can make such low margins. But workforce housing is cool because it's your teachers, your firefighters, your nurses, all of the people that are really out here working and making a difference and so vital to the community.
Extremely vital.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they deserve a home to not rent, but to purchase and build a family in. I feel like Charlotte, there's an overabundance of gentrification, and I understand, being a money person, I get why these general contractors are going and building $1 million to $3 million homes and popping them up, and they sell before the dirt has even, been touched. I get it. But I do want a part of my portfolio to have an extremely heartfelt, mission-driven, reason. So that was one of my first, this is my mission, this is my hobby investments. And
Nice.
I do take more of a silent investor role. I'm involved in some of the design phases, which is really fun.
So awesome.
I know my partners are great. So anything that I want to be involved in or learn about, they're more than happy to bring me in on. I've brought my son to job sites too. Like, I'm really trying to get the kids involved so that they can see what it's like to really build something. It's cool because we had to create 2 roads in this neighborhood, and one is Macie Street, which is my new last
That's
name,
awesome.
and the other one is Mata Avenue, which is
That's
my
awesome.
old last name. So I actually have both of my last names intersecting in a neighborhood that I built. It's exciting. It's really fun. So I am looking for more real estate opportunities. You do have to watch the market, which I'm trying to familiarize myself with trends and where everything is going. But I do feel like workforce housing is a great place to play, because even if we were to hit a recession, knock on wood for everyone, but we still have these people that are working. We have people in the community that still will have their jobs and still need a product to purchase. So I do feel like not recession proof, but almost the last on the totem pole to see a serious impact from a recession.
You mentioned that you have a investment company, and you are opening a franchise in the DC area. Is that true?
I'm
Okay.
super excited about it.
Talk to me about that. I'm very interested about that, and because a really good friend of mine just moved to DC, and I went out there briefly and was shocked that it's not that much more expensive than Charlotte.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
And it's so diverse. It kind of took me back. I wasn't expecting DC to be that.
DC is so fun.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting DC to be that cool. But talk to me about that. What are you exactly doing over there?
Of course. So I am a franchisee, more of, I could be silent if I wanted. I did take a marketing role on their team with my partners. So my partners are Black, husband and wife couple. They're amazing. The wife is a real housewife. I'm not going to name drop, but she wasn't when we started this journey, and now she is. So I'm like, I'm friends with a celebrity.
Real Housewife? Are we talking Atlanta? Are we talking...
We're in DC. What is it, Potomac?
Oh.
Yeah. So it's really exciting. They had moved from Charlotte over into that area. We knew we wanted to do business with them. Of course, the pandemic slowed some things down. We originally were going to do 3 units, and then when we finally were ready to pull the trigger, it turned out to be 1 so far. My goal is to have 1 franchise for each of our children, so I do want to expand on this relationship. But we are opening a clinic. It's the Joint Chiropractic is my first franchise brand. I'm learning so much all the time. And we're opening our first clinic in Georgetown, in the Georgetown area.
That's awesome. I love Georgetown.
I know. It's going to be incredible. I love it. We've been on an incredible journey. We had attempted to purchase 14 franchises of a beauty brand, the end of last year, and it just didn't work out with the additional variants.
Out here killing it.
I was really hoping that I could come on here and tell you that I had 14 more locations. That's not the case, but I know that she doesn't have the capacity, and franchising isn't my full-time thing. I do love working with them. They're just so exciting, so fun. Consider all my business partners family, but they're also just experts at what they do, and I just keep associating myself with that. They're previously McDonald's and Massage Envy, and now the Joint Chiropractic, and they've got 16, 17. They're working to 50 locations is their goal. So of course I want to be along for that type of ride, right? But no, I do believe that I've got the right partnerships in place. So when another whale of a deal like that comes around, that the timing will align perfectly and something larger is going to come from that relationship. So
Very dope.
it's really exciting and really fun.
You're doing so many big things. Like it's very inspirational. It's very inspirational because I know, like I said, I've known you for so long now. How long have I known you now?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. I moved to California and moved all the way back. I've been here for 2 years the first time. 2, 3.
It has to be 5, at least
8 years.
8
years.
Yeah, I've known you for so long, and I know so much about you, and like just to see where you're at now, it's like it's very inspiring. It's very motivational. So I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
I'm very happy for you. What are the long-term goals? Because I know people like you and me, we have yearly goals and quarterly goals.
Yeah.
But like, where do you? And I know this sounds so fucking cliche, but where do you see yourself in 10 years?
That's a fun question.
No, what's I don't want to say end game, because I feel like people like you and me, we're gonna go until we're on walkers or something. But what's the where do you want to be?
Yeah, so it's interesting. 10 years is too long for me. I'll tell you. One thing that I've become really good at is realizing what are realistic goals to set for myself that are not a waste of time of me even thinking about them, and also something that's achievable. So for myself, and I must add, we've talked a lot about how I do multiple things. I feel like there is a level of entrepreneurship, right? There's different levels to this, and I never would have been able to do multiple things and manage multiple things if I didn't start with one thing. I want to preface that your first company, maybe even your second or third, because Macie was not my first, it was probably my fourth company, it takes all of your effort. It should deserve all of your attention until it is all the way maxed out to a point where you can replace yourself in that company and focus on other things if it's still your company. Gosh. So for me, because I do have so many moving parts, I like to plan in 1, 3, and 5 year goals. And even 5 years is a while for me, because things change and things move. And
yeah, look at what the pandemic did. It completely changed everything.
Exactly. So I don't set 10-year. A few things that I know that I want to do in my lifetime is I want to buy my husband an island.
Hey.
Just for something just so extra and ridiculous. I mean, my husband is so good to me, and he's also very extra, so I feel like I have to go above and beyond.
I want to buy my husband an island.
Yeah. So I want to buy him an island in my lifetime. He will retire himself. I don't have to worry about that. But one of my most recent goals is to get this winery to point A or point B, which is, a $21 million revenue generating winery in 5 years, or to acquisition, alongside his retirement.
Very nice.
Right? So I want us to retire at the same time.
Yes.
I don't need to retire him. I want to retire myself at the same time. And then, we'll figure out other goals from there. But those are some of just my fun ones. I mentioned that I want all my kids to have at least one franchise. I think that I don't want them to get handed all of these things, but I do feel like having a small stake in one franchise that they don't truly have to operate because I've set up the relationship that way would be a great fallback if something were to happen to someone. Right? So I am thinking about emergency and wealth building and what that looks like to not spoil them, but also create that blanket of wealth.
Yeah. So I'm so not used to hearing you speak about my children and I want this for my kids and my son and this and that. I think that's beautiful. How has that changed your thought process about things? Because I know all of my guy friends, they tell me you really don't know manhood until you're responsible for another life, or you give birth to another life, or you I have a friend that married someone that had 2 kids, and he doesn't have kids of his own, and he's just like, I barely talk to him now because it's all about his family now. So being as busy as you are, how does that affect, if it did, how did that affect your entrepreneurial mindset? Because I know before you just had to worry about you.
Yeah, totally different story.
So how do you go about that?
It's interesting, and I mean, I love it. Obviously, if you would have asked me prior to meeting my husband, I probably would have said, I don't date men with children, which is so crazy, right? You really don't know who you're going to fall in love with. And I mean, I love those children. I think that a lot of people don't know this about me, but I didn't meet my dad until I was about 11 or 12. I didn't even know him. And
I did not know that.
My siblings on my dad's side didn't know about me until I showed up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And my stepmom was amazing, right? And no matter what happened with my dad, my mom, before I met my dad, never spoke poorly of my father.
Right.
She always said, you know, we were so young, 18 and 19, you wouldn't understand unless you were in our shoes.
Right.
And my stepmom was just such a big piece of my life in teaching me some fundamental values that I'm trying to teach my children, right? About forgiveness and about acceptance and about just being kind.
You're giving them what you wanted, basically. You're giving them what you were taught and also a little bit of what you wanted.
I didn't know I wanted that from my stepmom until I had met her and established this relationship and realized that she was going to make me feel warm and make me feel welcome, and she was going to talk to my mom so my mom felt comfortable. And those are things that until now I didn't realize that I wanted or needed. And so I feel like it was just so natural in my world growing up once those relationships were established. And I almost feel like it's the universe telling me, like, no, you're going to give it forward, you know, or pay it forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Glenn was a single dad for about 6 years with all the kids.
Wow, really?
Yeah, he was.
Awesome.
So it's
That's so
really
awesome.
interesting to come in.
That's a strong dude right there.
Yeah, I know,
Wow.
right? And that's one thing that I'm like, wow, I never would have dated anyone with children, and then I get this single dad with 3 kids.
That says a lot though about his work ethic. That just, I don't even know him like that, and that alone tells me a lot.
Yeah, so it's pretty incredible, and I got to walk into a situation that, you know, we have difficult times, or not in every moment do they love me, or not love, do they like me, or I like them, right? I've got 3 teenagers, so I'm sure you could ask any one of them right now, and they'd be like, she's such a jerk, my grade is only a C, right? But it's a wild journey, and you're truly being a person of influence in their life. You're shaping who they're going to be. You're contributing to all of that.
I bet they can relate with you because you're still so young, and you keep up with the times, obviously.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that you're able to build a nice little relationship with them.
Yeah. I would say the age thing actually was a barrier in the relationship.
Really?
At first when I got there, they were like, I don't know, right? I had to prove myself.
I thought that was going to be an advantage.
No, not an advantage. Oh my gosh. They're like, are you sure, Dad? I don't know. So I definitely had to prove myself, I feel like, which is fine and valid, and I was willing to do, but I have a strong bond with all of them in different ways, and they truly are good kids. I tell Glenn this all the time because, you know, we want to have a baby of our own, and I'm like,
awesome.
You've had 3 awesome kids, and you know there has to be a bad apple in every family. Like, is this gonna fall on the one that I get? Like, how? Oh my gosh, our kids right now are so great. So I think it's hilarious because I'm like, am I gonna birth the spawn of Satan? Right, this is gonna be the bad apple. Here we go. And I can't put that in the universe, but I've got some concerns.
I feel that. Well, thank you so much for coming. I was so looking forward to this because I've looked up to you. I see everything that you do. You've helped me a ton since I started. You've approached me with opportunities. You've given me advice. You've supported everything I've done. And I just knew that we were going to have a great conversation. I could talk to you for another hour. My podcast is supposed to be 30 minutes or less, but I already knew this was going to be a little
Oh,
bit
wow.
longer.
I'm the chatty one.
No, it's great. My first one was about 45 minutes, but anywho, thank you so much for coming. Is there somewhere that people can find you? Do you have like a website or something that people want to reach out to you?
I have all of my social media handles are Macie Mincy, and my website is actually down right now because I have to change my last name. So it's the first time it's been down in a while.
Well, they can reach out to you through social media. I've been doing this for 4 years. I still don't have a constant website up, but thank you so much.
No, thank you. This was awesome.
And thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys here at Bokao Sushi for hosting the podcast here. Bokao Sushi is the dopest spot to be at. They do fusion sushi dishes, beautiful cocktails, a very nice dining experience, and at night they turn up. And if you don't believe me, go to my Instagram and watch the videos because there's a turn up. But thank you guys at Bokao Sushi for hosting the podcast here. Thank you to Macie, and thank you to everybody listening. And that's a wrap. And thank you to Kevin.
Yes, Kevin. Thank you. Woo!
Awesome.